I don't think there's any shame in playing a game that makes you feel good, that doesn't challenge you or fuck with you mentally, and instead is something you can just pick up, glide through, and just feel at ease when playing it. Because hey, we're all allowed an off day. There's lots of means to help you feel calm and relaxed, and not giving yourself a break from the constant stress and burdens of everyday life just doesn't work out well for anyone. And plus, some of the games I might be covering at some point won't be kind to me either physically, mentally, or both. But this honestly surprised me. Snufkin, Melody of Moominvalley wasn't really something I was expecting, primarily because I'm not sure how popular the Moomins are, at least in North America. But in Finland though, it's pretty big over there.
Sinä olet alhainen.
If you're familiar with the Moomins, which I hope you are, it's a children's series that centers around the titular Moomins, a family of white trolls that are round and look like they swallowed a wasp or ate something that they're allergic to, and their home known as Moominvalley, a very peaceful and very green place, as well as the many characters and adventures they go on, sometimes expressing themes of being worry-free, childlike wonder, friendship, the love of nature, and respect for the environment, whilst also simultaneously being the most chaotic and surprisingly dark shit possible. And my god, there are so many characters, such as the friendly but naive Moomin troll, the abrasive snarky little Mai, the good-natured but cowardly Sniff, the adventure-loving Moomin Papa, the calm and collective Moomin Mama, the cold melancholic Groke, the token love interest Snork Maiden, the strict and tidy Mrs. Fillyjonk, among so many others. But then you get Snufkin, a strong fan favorite, a philosophical, carefree vagabond who visits Moominvalley every spring and leaves before winter, taking joy in the simplest things such as fishing and playing the harmonica, and is among Moomin Troll's best friends. Friends with benefits, fingering cornholes, providing women with tons of gay edging, and lots of fanfiction.
As soon as I spot a back that hasn't been blown out, I become a little bit unreasonable.
Starting in 1945 by Tove Jansson as a small series of novels, it began to grow not only in new themes, character development, and world building, but it became insanely popular, and the series was branching out into various adaptations and mediums, from puppets to animation to stage plays to board games to whatever the fuck this is. Fun fact, the Japanese voice actor of Snufkin for the 1990s series Moomin also voices Dio. You know, that dead meme from a couple years ago? Prior to the game's release, the only Moomin game I had ever heard of was for the DS. And my dumbass thought that was it. They tried, it didn't work out, go back to making dolls or something. But no, this wasn't their only rodeo into video game territory. For me, when it came to a video game tie-in with any series, they can be among the best, among the worst, or fade into obscurity because of how specific the franchise is. And if they were to continue on with these kinds of games, just depended on how popular the IP or the game was. Moomins was just popular enough to get itself another game, but it's not easy to get the green light sometimes. Tove Jansson was also known to be very protective of her own characters. After a TV animation that aired between 1969 and 1970 had her characters drink excessively, wield guns, murder people, be exposed to hentai, die from car bombs, die from a nuclear holocaust. Yeah, she wasn't pleased with how this went. Oh, shit! This started a thing where Tove, and later on her brother Lars, were the ones to have a say-so if a company was interested in adapting the Moomins. And if they did allow it, they would at least act as advisors to see if the characters were being portrayed correctly. This task would be given to Moomin Characters Ltd, who would withhold the strict guidelines even after their deaths. But they did like the idea of another game, and they did watch over development. More so if they got the story and characters right, and less for the coding. And I don't blame them, it's fucking taxing. Snufkin, Melody of Moominvalley, was released fairly recently back in March for the Mac, PC, Xbox, Switch, and PS5, and it actually follows some beats from Jansson's works, more primarily from Moomin Summer Madness and some of her short stories. This is published by Raw Fury, who themselves have published a few games I have not heard of, and developed by Hyper Games, who are known for some pretty oddball games, such as Egg, a platformer involving your own vomit. And if you didn't know any better, you think this is a tie-in to the gross-out humor of Mad Magazine, and Morkred, a co-op puzzle game involving a mini sun.
I say we take a break. This learning stuff is making me hungry. Did you see that? Weird. Oh well, can't beat 'em, eat 'em. Not bad.
The story goes that Snufkin is leaving Moominvalley, saying goodbye to his best friend Moomin Troll, who is about to hibernate for the winter, and makes a promise to meet back with him at the same bridge when spring starts. Only to find upon his return, Moominvalley is in a state of ruin. Tons of parks all over the place, policemen taking up more parking space than a fucking greyhound, and his friend nowhere to be seen, with some kind of decorated park keeper pulling the strings around the place. Snufkin, only having two things in his manifesto, sets out to revert Moominvalley to what it originally was. The game starts with Snufkin making his way back through Moominvalley, as you get a grasp of this game's controls and mechanics, which is the only time they're going to tell you what the controls are, as there is nothing to see in the menu bar a few options that are useless to a common gamer. Thankfully, they're easy to understand, and the game doesn't utilize a lot of keys anyways. Look, I love Fear, but my god there are a lot of keys to remember. If you're on PC, which is what I'm on, you might be caught off guard by using the arrow keys to move rather than the usual WASD, since you'll be using 3 out of those 4 keys for other actions. But not the W, because even I can't get that shit. After staring at some beautiful scenery, Snufkin discovers he's being followed by a secret admirer. It turns out to be a representative of the Moomin fandom. A fucking furry! This creature doesn't have a name because it's too small to have one. And being the good Samaritan he is, Snufkin obliges to help find this local meth addict a name to be known by. Sure, I don't see why not. I mean, look how small these planets are. They still got names.
Sun, Mercury, Uranus, water planets, Pluto, and this one they didn't have a name for it yet. It's too far away.
Can I call you Dish Rag? This game will also give you quests as a means of progressing through the world, as well as to provide more world building as you start to discover how the citizens of Moominvalley actually function, at least in a more catatonic state than usual. And they're not hard quests either. By the way, I'm not going to show you how to get all the achievements, as there's already tons of guides that tell you how to get them. This isn't some sort of definitive video to show you how to make every bird in every tree twerk to your SoundCloud beats. This is just a video about a game I wanted to talk about. So please, don't take this as personal if you don't agree. I don't know why I'm so special. And speaking of beats, if you couldn't tell by the title of this game, this will be a music-focused game, as you'll be using your instruments as a tool to possess nature via the power of garage tunes, entertain the locals, and later on to clear paths to help with progression, primarily because the use of violence was prohibited and went against what the Moomins were about, despite having guns. You can't just stab someone with a stick or bash someone's head with a large rock. So if you're having some kind of power fantasy of Snufkin, blasting his enemies away with a rifle as pumped up kicks plays in the background, that ain't happening. On our way to Moominvalley, we see some of the locals making a mad dash out of the area, as we get into some pseudo-philosophical talk with the Big Lebowski. Around here, you'll be exposed to the game's puzzle mechanics. That is, getting across rivers with large stones, pushing and pulling large boulders and logs, using nature to do the hard work for you, and using unpaid labor to help you climb up the cliff sides. Hang on a minute. This creep over here thinks your music's trash! And he ain't convinced to help you out unless you get fucking good. That's not me being callous, that's actually what they're called. Some of them look like Devo fans, actually. They really want me to whip it good. Or was it unzip and whip, or pull out and whip and unzip? You will need to be more inspiring to win them over, which will bring you to this game's leveling system. Since you'll be using songs, you'll need to do more with your craft than just play the same disinterested tunes and hope that everyone likes them, which is a struggle for Snufkin because I imagine whenever he writes music he just does one singular note and goes, ugh, I'm too tired. Inspiration is this game's XP. How the world responds to your music will depend on how much inspiration you got, and later on, what instrument you have. You can gain inspiration by running into bushes that have subtle sound cues, and some don't have them for some reason. Engaging with parts of nature, and also completing side quests, which not only expands a little more of Moominvalley and makes for some interesting interactions with more of Janssen's characters, but it's also a good source of achievements. Some do contribute to completing the main story, and it's also a good source of XP. Some critters will ask you for a specific level for you to progress. I never had much of a problem with this because the max level you can reach is 8, and I always go bush diving to make sure I'm more inspired than a TED Talk, but I'm getting ahead of myself. On our way we bump into Sniff, whose adventurous side is crippled by his fear of spiders. And since the spider isn't cooperating, we'll have to send in an eviction notice. You're welcome! Fucking pussy. Snufkin, pretending to show concern, feels bad for the spider, so as reimbursement, we get them a butterfly. Then we come to some signs, and Snufkin hates signs. He can't stand the sight of them. They're so demanding, always asking for too much for someone to do. I mean, look at the ones they got around here. No arson, no marijuana, no British, no gays, no hands, no teepees, no Jordans, no glue sniffers. There's a Jewish joke in here somewhere, I must have misplaced it. I can't have shit in this place. Look, all I'm saying is, don't take Snufkin to Los Angeles, okay? The dude's gonna fucking drown. Upon arriving, we are greeted to the face of the main villain, the dreaded park ranger, whose objective here is to industrialize and future-proof Moominvalley by turning it into a mix of Central Park and Arizona. I mean, look at him, he's posing like he's doing a YouTube thumbnail. Right off the bat, you're introduced to the police officers, hired hands by the park ranger to maintain park rules rather than genuine policing. And as one goes off to take a bathroom break, we get a taste of Snufkin's more anti-authoritarian, eco-terrorist side. And since there are no rules here to uphold, the policeman fucks off, leaving Snufkin to rip this park into bits, and let nature do the healing. And you are going to be ripping up a lot of parks. But before we can actually get to one, we gotta get past this locked gate. And we also gotta help this mother bird who lost her children and is holding the key to the gate hostage. And by we, they mean you the player, and Snufkin go find her dumb shit kids. Dish Rag here ain't doing any of that. In this area there's also a little place where you can find a gazing spot and take a break. So you can go and do whatever needs to be done. Like go for a piss or cook up a snack or some shit. I like it when games give you the option to do this sort of thing. Everyone's got a busy life, and some of us can't really commit to long stretches of gaming. It's kinda like the game saying, you go do your own thing, I'll wait till you come back. Especially here, where it's a game of taking it easy and enjoying nature. including the episodes of Property Damage and worshipping the Unabomber as a fucking deity. There are many of these spots scattered throughout the game, and they are just gorgeous to look at. We get our kids back, and the noise the mother bird makes touches our companion here so much that we're able to create a name for him. Titty Woo. He heads off to get himself prepared for a new life, and we proceed into the park. We got to stealth our way through, pushing statues and removing signs, refrain ourselves from being seen by the cops. Like a lot of things in this game, it's really easy to understand the stealth mechanics, and it's unique in the sense that it's used in a non-violent approach. Now, it's not the first or even the most popular to do so, but the way that they did it here is very special, to both the character and the world. Some of the cops here are more oblivious than others, so they are not that complex. Stealth is also pretty forgiving, since my few experiences with stealth are with the Payday series. All 3 of them. I was bound to do a slip up here and there, and all it does is just send you back a little bit, so you can still do it again. You can also outrun the cops' sight, but you need to be pretty fast with your actions. Another park down, more puzzles to do, more beautiful scenery to look at, especially this view of the bathhouse, and we finally made it to Moominvalley. We meet Moomin Mama and Moomin Papa, who've just woken up from their winter slumber, with Moomin Papa's boat missing, and his place spread throughout the world because Moomin's clumsy ass left the windows open. Fucking dumbass kid. Upon arriving at the bridge, as mentioned earlier, Moomin isn't there, despite making a promise. And Snufkin is fucking mortified! Look at him! It's less of him reacting to his supposed butt buddy, best friend, going missing, as it is him walking away after watching American History X. A game about nature would of course encourage the player to go explore, well, nature. I found myself going around Moominvalley, checking every nook and cranny, just seeing what I can interact with, or what I can collect ahead of time. It's a moment where you can proceed at your own pace, and it's neat going into little pockets of land to find things you otherwise might have missed, even if most of the rewards are more XP and more side quests, which in turn gives you more XP. Every little does help, but I do have an issue, which I'll get to later. Oh, hey little Mai. If you already have an understanding of this character, she is a fucking handful.
I want to see you wrap yourself round and choke somebody.
Not only in general, but in this game too. She claims that she, allegedly, saw the Groke. This giant plump thing here that's colder than any Instagram grunge girl, kidnapped Moomin whilst he was kicking and screaming. And whilst her credibility is as dubious as any internet journalist, Snufkin still decides to look into it a little more to find something more concrete. Following a cold path down, you find some animals extremely distressed, and more cops that are as helpful as you think they are. As you keep going on, the world starts to change, progressively getting colder as we find clues of Moomin's whereabouts. And then... this is among the few action sequences in this game. Getting chased by the Groke as you navigate your way to safety is among the few moments I felt an intense rush. Although I do have a bit of a nitpick with this bit. Although it's likely down to me being on a keyboard and rushing through it, but just bear with me for a minute. Snufkin can move up, down, left, right, and if you want to go at an angle, you hold 2 arrow keys in the direction you want to go. Top left, bottom right, you get the picture. And while Snufkin is limited to move in 8 directions, the world feels a lot more dynamic, such as when I'm moving boulders or logs, or placing down stones here to cross a river. Some areas do clash with Snufkin's movement, in that trying to be precise makes Snufkin snap to one direction. It felt like the movement and the world weren't on the same frequency. For me, this becomes more apparent with the Groke chase, as I ended up fumbling a lot of the jumps and puzzles as I wrestled with the direction of pushing boulders, from trying to push to jumping out of spot, which killed a lot of time for me, and I was put back to the last checkpoint a lot. Whether that was me rushing too hard or mashing the arrow keys hoping one of them does the action. There's this long stretch of mud where you can't sprint, And if you haven't made enough distance between you and the Groke beforehand, congratulations, dick nose, you're fucked. I'll see you in the freezer section.
I'm still real cold outside.
Now look, this is a beautiful segment, one of the most atmospheric in the whole game. I genuinely felt chills coming from the world alone. It was that good, but the puzzles in between made this whole piece very stop and go. It kinda screwed the pacing for me. But from that point on, I didn't have much of an issue because future bits didn't have as much urgency as with this. I think the Groke started to feel bad for me as I dry humped this boulder. We're rescued by Sonic's meth head uncle, who tells us that he saw Moomin alongside the Groke, to speak to the police about the sudden appearance of Parks, to which they were both sent off, as Moomin seeks out the park ranger on Hattifatteners Island. Which confirms one thing, Little Maya is a fucking liar! Bitch got ahead like a shopping bag anyways, but also that Moomin is still alive. And another thing that we also learn is that the Groke is attracted to light, explaining why she got way too personal with Snufkin. Harmless? I'm not sure if forced hypothermia is what you call harmless. If that ain't enough, some cops are committing arson in a highly flammable area, causing the valley to burst into flames. Man, Smokey the Bear's gonna be pissed. And from out of nowhere, the Groke comes in, using her frosty behavior to extinguish the fire. I just think it's neat that one of the powers that was previously being used to stop you is now being used to help you on your quest, even if just briefly. You find those same cops from earlier trying to get us on an account of bullshit, but joke's on them, I got myself a bad bitch just for lighting a lantern. They go off pissing themselves, and it's honestly kinda sweet that the Groke gets accepted as a friend to nature, as the whole story with the Groke is that she's always this force of nature to avoid out of fear, only for Moomin to approach her and realize that she's not really evil or dangerous, but misunderstood and severely lonely. A sweet nod to those stories. Here, we get another instrument, the flute, which instead of standing in one spot and letting your music skills do all the work for you like the harmonica, you have to aim with the flute if you want to get proper use out of it. Especially these flies who would stop you in your tracks, and you have to rotate around to make sure the music's effective. Sticking with the topic of music, the game's soundtrack here just complements that relaxing, humbling nature of the game, whilst also being appropriate to certain parts of the story or environment. The music is done by Ode Tilseth in collaboration with Icelandic band Sigur. An interesting thing to note is that there was some hesitation from putting Sigur's music into a Moomin game out of respect for the franchise, as composer Kjartan Sveinsson, I think I fucking butchered that shit, mentions how he doesn't really hear much music in Moominvalley, and that no music can do it justice. I honestly believe Ode Tilseth and Sigur did a great job in composing some wonderful songs to complement that feel of Moominvalley, even if Sigur only did a couple tracks. As mentioned previously, whilst I like the moments of brief exploration, I felt that only when I was doing my own thing and not following the main quest. If you're really eager to get those side quests done, you best play the main story, as a majority of it will be locked behind an instrument you don't have yet. For example, down by the shores, there's this invisible girl called Ninny, in which during her swim, Stinky came around and stole all her clothes. What a freak! So we best help her get her clothes back and confront Stinky. Okay, where's Stinky? In a part of a map you can't access yet. Later on, you find Snork Maiden's bracelet in some bird's nest, and you think, hey, I should probably return this to Snork Maiden. Where is she? In a part of a map you can't access yet. Or when you're hanging out with Jeff Bridges and he asks you to get some ingredients so you can build up your stamina. Where are the ingredients? Well, some of them you can get fairly early on, and some will be in a part of a map you can't access yet. Do you see something here? Look, I also get this game is also played by kids, and they gotta need some barriers to help direct them to certain missions, because they don't make the best choices. But for me, it makes Moominvalley feel smaller. Even in my pockets of brief wonder, I'm still going to be trapped here until I move the plot forward. Snufkin, Melody of Moominvalley, is a linear game with an open world, and there's nothing wrong with that. Obviously, it's a story-driven game that's built up to a climax and a conclusion, and I get we're going to be spending a lot of time in Moominvalley. Why else would it be on the title? What it's trying is not bad or extremely detrimental to my enjoyment, but it does make Moominvalley a little stiff. And I don't mean as in getting hard, I mean as in more boxed in. You think with a world as expansive and unique as that of Moominvalley that there will be more to it than just doing side quests and watching Snufkin fiddle his wood. I wanted to fuck around in Moominvalley. I wanted to go fishing, find Jockster, go inside the Moomin house, and pull a haymaker on Stinky. But I would imagine there would be a limit to that. I suppose that's the effect of the park keeper. I'd give this place about 3.6 Retgen on Yelp.
What does the decimeter say?
3.6 Rontgen, but that's as high as the meter.
3.6. Not great, not terrible.
I went to tag alongside Sniff for a rescue mission that doubles as a treasure hunt, through this pretty cave, rescuing Cedric, lull some crabs to sleep, and find the treasure. And rescue Cedric again because Sniff is such a shitty pet sitter. So we gotta get to Hattifatteners Island, but we don't have a boat. So in this case, we gotta improvise. We meet with Tiki. You just gotta love these names. To see if she can help build something for us to get to the island. She complies, but we'll need to get some supplies to make it work. We got a rope from the sea monster that we just freed, so we gotta help Moomin Papa saw up some wood so we can use them for the raft. To the north there's another park, and we meet this ghost, who's so unthreatening you can fit him in your pocket. It turns out whenever he fails to scare someone, he progressively gets smaller. So we round up a bunch of cops to lead to the ghosts to scare them out of the palace. To have it change from sneaking around cops to voluntarily making yourself seen so you can attract them out of the park is a nice and refreshing twist on the park formula. After our good deed, we get a sheet from the ghost, which will work nicely as a sail to our raft. In the mountains somewhere, we meet with another member of the Moomin family, Snork. He's a Tesla driver. That's all you need to know about him. It turns out he's holding a little race against some sticks so he can share it with his two friends on Instagram. He has the perfect stick to act as the mast for our raft, but won't give it up unless we win his little race. Nearby, we get a small stick to go racing with, but the stick measuring contest isn't going to plan. So the best means is to rig the race in our favor by persuading some fish to get out of the way. With his Spotify playlist. There's another rest stop to take a break, to gaze up into the sky and watch the trees sway. The art style here is gorgeous. Paying tribute to those of Janssen's original illustrations, it's made here to capture the feel that you're playing a painting. This can be put down to how much detail they did, from the colors cycling and warping through different patterns to changing textures, such as a rough and dirty feel to resemble that of a hand-painted cell, to having rough lines that capture the feel of paper being cut or painted on. Now we have all the pieces to make a raft, so we let Tiki do her thing. By the way, before going to Hattifatteners Island, I should also mention about Moomin Papa's pages, since later on it does become important to the main story. There is a total of 17 pages to collect. 9 are in Moominvalley, 5 are on Hattifatteners Island, and 3 you get from doing side quests. which you can't get to just yet. From what I've heard, you need 11 pages minimum for Moomin Papa to be satisfied, but I'm not sure about that since I've always aimed towards getting every single page, and that the moment you leave Hattifatteners Island to head back to Moominvalley, that's it. There's no return trips. It's a one-way ticket. You ain't getting back there anymore. Well, where the hell were you when I was helping out Sniff? You could have grabbed some instead of blaming me for all your non-existent problems, you psychotic little brat! With my options for exploring Moominvalley held hostage by a lot of invisible barriers, we head out to Hattifatteners Island to find Moomin Troll, but not without picking up some extra company. Little Ma, you actual fucknugget. Well, we made it to Hattifatteners Island, but there's no sign of Moomin Troll. We do find Moomin Papa's boat here, but now we gotta get another sail. We're told by some pirates that there's a pirate ship on the island, but since the owner of the thing is partying it out and just wants it gone, we're gonna see if we can catch ourselves a sweet deal on that pirate sail. And some treasure if they got any. There's something about Hattifatteners Island that feels more special and strangely more free compared to Moominvalley. The atmosphere feels more dreamlike, and going through this place, there's no pressure of doing anything, despite the fact we're still looking for Moomin Troll. I didn't get that claustrophobic feel I got in Moominvalley. Everything here felt more natural. Barriers weren't an issue. I was able to glide through the puzzles and paths, and still go on without feeling stunted by some of the invisible walls and progression barriers. As well, I'm a sucker for a lot of nighttime environments, so that's pretty cool. We're not going to be here for long, but I think it's among the best bits of the game. There's another rest stop to take a break. They added a little twist on some of the puzzles, with making a bridge out of barrels, and later on getting Little Mai to help round up some creeps, via boulder dropping and snake riding. We see a bunch of Hattifatteners gather around into a crowd, these weird tampons who are only here to vibe. We find a Hemuan plant collector, which Moomin Troll was helping previously to get the barometer back, an object the Hattifatteners worship. So we're directed to a yuppie park in the middle of the island, and the noise the Hattifatteners make are just spooky. The parks expand more with the stealth, such as using lures like caged animals to get the guards' attention, and lulling some to sleep via lullabies. I can't tell if this is a park or a zoo because of all the animals here obviously enjoying themselves, including a fellow sea creature like... how the fuck? And while you're at it, rip out more signs, knock some shit over, and eventually you'll come to the barometer. And after a brief dismantling, the Hattifatteners rejoice. For our troubles, we get the third and last instrument in the whole game. A drum. Not only did I get a sense of relief, finally knowing I can clear more paths in Moominvalley, but I can pull off this sick drum solo too. Thanks for giving me the chance to give it a try, but I'm pretty sure everyone here understands the basics of a fucking drum. You hit it, it makes a noise. Shit's universal. And guess what? Moomin Troll got arrested by the park ranger and is going back to face imprisonment on Moominvalley. And if this universe is anything to go by, it's probably on the account of jaywalking and looking ugly as fuck. But that can't stand. We gotta get after them. Snufkin and Little Mai pull a truce despite past experiences, and they make their way to the pirate ship, taking in some beautiful landscapes and wildlife. I wish I could send a postcard. Does this place have postcards? Oh look! It's the moon! That's cool. We make it to the cave and I guess the truce is off for the time being.
Aw.
See you at the party, Little Mai! The cave section is fine, even though in some places I did loop around and somehow got myself lost. There's also these turtles here that act as platforms, which we did see back in the park, but I'm not sure how to feel about them. There's this segment where I had to zigzag between two turtles in order to progress through. You have the option to continue on the right or go to the left and get more inspiration, but if you're really keen to max out your XP, it will be a bit for the turtles to circle back to align themselves to cross over. Oh. Thanks, Little Mai. Oh, would you look at that? There's some treasure! But the park keeper took it all. It's like the guy's voluntarily asking to get his shit pushed in. First a power freak and now a thief. This dude's got 1984 energy riddled all over him. So we get the sale. Unless you want to help this horse out is your call. Make sure you've gotten all 5 pages on the island, get the sale on the mass, and head back to Moominvalley. With this new drum you can unlock more bits of the map to complete already existing side quests, or to jumpstart new ones. I haven't really gotten into much detail about them, primarily because there's a lot, and a lot of them are nods and references to more of Janssen's works, and as said, it's often for more XP. There's a couple bits of continuity, or just flat out gags, except this walrus here, whom eating cooked food with, grants Snufkin with more stamina, so we can run fast for much longer. I didn't know Moomin Mama was into bribery. Why isn't she in the cage?
Oh, this isn't my first jailbreak.
Hey, Moomin Troll! The park keeper isn't willing to play ball with anyone, and like the average Twitter user, is so obsessed with progression and image, turning Moominvalley into a park of the future, so obsessed with being the big mouth of the place. It's more chronic than a coke addiction. What vision? Your eyes were closed the whole time. I will turn your trees into puffy meatballs, you neurotic slut. Thankfully, the park keeper's cousin is a lot more open-minded, and tells us that apart from the usual abuse of power, he has a soft spot for the theater, which gives Moomin Papa an idea, which takes us to the old theater. You can't tell, but I'm laughing my ass off at this bit. Please, no more. Oh, my sides. I'm getting a hemorrhoid. We get tasked with delivering some invitations, and we hand some pages over to Moomin Papa. But first, let's help out the band a little. The map will be marked for who you'll be giving invitations to, but despite being a very special occasion, we're not inviting all of Moominvalley to the theater. I get it's not for everyone, but why not Ninny or even Snork Maiden? You're gonna do her dirty like that, but you're putting Snork in the seat? I don't get this place, it's weird. Of course, this goes into the plan of distracting a couple guards and the park keeper in order to get Moomin Troll out of that cage. But we're gonna need some costumes for that play. And the only one in the valley keeping them stored is Mrs. Phillyjonk. Phillyjonk? Whatever. Who lives at the edge of the map. Stealth is expanded again, with these small tubes that act as lures when bashing a drum, and taking down some sand mountains that litter the park. It's alright, it's just teaching you how to use a specific instrument for a certain action. Ah, fuck, I'm getting jumped! Yeah, on our way, Snufkin's Old Spice body spray is going to be drawing in woodies. These little fucks that impair your ability to do anything. Thankfully, they all got ADD, so any distraction is good enough to lure them as you escape. Aw, fuck no. Ha! Gotcha! Oh, what the hell? Yeah, I'm not sure to call this one the other action sequence in this game, since it's one of the few times in this game where you're pushed to do something as quickly as possible. Comparing this and the Groke chase, they feel like different beasts entirely. The latter was a scramble for safety. This is a constant that is part of the puzzle. There's this part where you trap some woodies behind a giant boulder and leave them to starve, but then realize you need them for this next bit, so you go back, free them, and break this log to continue on. This game, even in the later stages, does introduce new things to you, which honestly makes me wish for a place where you get to do all the cool shit you've learned previously. We finally make it to Mrs. Phillyjonk's house, where she trapped herself in her own home, her own garden, her kids acting like vegetables, so we gotta make her come out of the house. Fuck up her laundry, destroy her garden, knock over her plants, give TikTok to her children. I was just kidding on that last part, they're playing with the woodies. She relaxes a bit and gives us the costumes for the play and to help support the local scene. I don't know who you were giving your invitations to, Little Mai. I distinctly remember you being trapped in that well. Oh look, the park keeper came by. At least now we can pay Moomin Troll a visit. Man, I hope that vase was decorational. Moomin Troll suggests that we head for the magnum opus of the whole project, the dam, and open it to restore water back to Moominvalley. So right now is a better time to finish up on some side quests if you haven't already, because there is no going back. Snufkin is pretty much a passenger for this next bit, as we now take control of Moomin Troll. From this point on, it's to get from point A to point B. There's no instruments to play or signs to remove, just an easy, stealthy walk to the game's ending. Which, while I like that we take control of Moomin Troll, who's been nothing but a MacGuffin for the whole game, it feels like there should have been something else here. Something more, and there just isn't. Even now, it feels like they're still introducing new stealth quirks, aka the lightning to scare the cops as we sneak past their startled sight. And we're already nearing the end of the game. This feels like a build-up for something, like a location where you could flex all the things you have learned in the previous parks, and not the main climax. And I wish we did more as Moomin Troll. To be fair, he is carrying Snufkin through a park, and this dance floor of multiple sidelines, and this stretch towards the dam is really cool. Oh wow, what a conveniently placed lever to open the dam. You know what time it is. He's got it! He's got the message! Ladies and gents, bring out the DeVito memes. We got him! The park is gone. Snufkin sends the park keeper and a couple cops out of the valley, but Moomin Troll insists to have them stay, as the park keeper only wanted to make Moominvalley a better place, and that there's still room for him, and instead is now the keeper of the theater due to his love for it, which he wholeheartedly accepts. Snufkin allows the keeper to stay, as long as there's no rules or signs to abide by, and they shake on it. And I guess everything just went back to normal. Snufkin is still going to stay with his best friend Moomin Troll, as they have a lot of adventures ahead of them. Wait, what? That was it? Did Moominvalley heal though? Did anyone die? Let me get this straight. We've just unleashed a tsunami upon the residents of Moominvalley. That's a lot of fucking flood damage you did there. You need like hospitals and shelters, gotta locate the bodies and all. And don't say everyone was at the theater because there's a select few that I know didn't get an invitation. Oh. That must mean Stinky is dead somewhere. Oh well. Here's the credits. On to new adventures. Here's some gay porn.
Internet Rule 34, don't fail me!
Adventures.
Snufkin Melody of Moominvalley is a beautiful game. A very peaceful game. A very comfy game that encourages its users to slow down, take a breather, relax your mind and body, and take in the green, playful legacy of Moominvalley, complemented from its handcrafted watercolor aesthetic, easy-to-understand puzzles, charming characters, beautiful soundtrack, breezy atmosphere, with brief moments of satirical jabs and eco-warrior values. I never found one moment to be out of place or extremely jarring. Whether it's an event or character interaction, you could be someone who has no interest in the franchise or is just starting to get into it, and yet, playing this game, it feels like you know this world and all these characters at heart. Everything comes together to form a neat little package of warmth and nature, as a lovely tribute to the series creator who made up a lot of childhoods. Whilst faithful to its source material, it's not without some shortcomings. As a small trade-off, the mix of linear and open-world exploration doesn't gel well with Moominvalley. A lot of areas are required of you to progress so you can unlock new instruments, and it hinders some of the exploration and the progression of some side quests, pretty much limiting you to a part of the map until you get back to the story. Some areas you can't explore altogether, such as the Moomin house or really any of the houses in this place. I'm in a large valley, not a pinball machine. Some characters do feel underutilized, like I wish we did more with Moomin Mama instead of just talking to her, and Snork Maiden, whom we only give a bracelet to and nothing else, as mentioned previously. This is also a short game and can be beaten within a couple hours if you're really passing through, which is not a bad thing necessarily, but at the end when you unlock everything, you don't really explore the progress you've made, and you're just sent back to the beginning cutscene. This game doesn't really have much replay value. My problem also is that it just makes me wish for more to come from this. Like I wish that I could have utilized all the skills that I learned from the previous parts to be exercised in future areas. I wish there were more characters I would have interacted or helped with. I wish there were more locations to explore. I wish there was more to it, and its short runtime didn't really sell that. It all feels like a prequel to something much more bigger, assuming there's ever going to be a sequel. Despite it all, it's a very tight, well-made game that's here to put you in a more melodic, down-to-earth state of mind. You should get it when it's on sale though. I do think the asking price is a bit much. I didn't really care about the art book or the gay cosmetics. I already know how beautiful the art style is. But that first bit is also why I wanted to talk about this game, as it's something that for me personally has actually helped me cope and get by. Now, I don't really talk about my personal life and give out this and that. It's not really my thing. But before I even started the script, even before I had discovered this game, I was having some bad mental problems that really fucked with how I worked, how I talked, how I did shit. It got in the way of what I was doing. I didn't really know how to enjoy things, I didn't sleep well. I struggled to bring this up with friends, family, anyone. I was rushing things. I was rushing to make videos. I started to shake and jolt, I couldn't stand any noise, and even suffered from death anxiety, an actual fear of death, something I don't recall feeling before, taking up a good chunk of my life, thinking that everything wants me dead. I genuinely pushed myself away from that stuff for a good while, because I just didn't want to think about it. But then I get word of the Moomins, and a game starring Snufkin, a popular character from that series, and I see it's a game set in nature, and made to make you feel welcome, akin to something like Animal Crossing. So I give it a shot. I'm taken to Moominvalley. I meet everyone there, from the main characters to the supporting cast. I learn more about the place, and all the worries, the stress that took me up previously was absent, replaced by this charming adventure to save a valley from nefarious means, as I watch some funny man in green rescue a hippopotamus. I start to get a hold of things, and it feels like I can do something again. Now, with these sorts of personal things, it's something that takes time. And this isn't the only game that I've played that's helped me overcome these tough feelings. What I'm saying with this is that Snufkin, Melody of Moominvalley, is a game I do respect, for being as forgiving as it is, for offering me an escape when I didn't know where to go or what to do, and whilst flawed in places, it has at least given me an appreciation for these kinds of games that I often overlook. I like trying something new and different every once in a while. So when I'm critiquing this video game, I'm not doing it for the sake of being critical. I do think there's a lot of room for a lot of improvement, and what they got is really solid, but should be built upon more, because what it does well, it does really well. Still waiting for the Jokester to return. Oh, what the fuck, this is real?
I am Jokester. I don't believe in remembering names. They're so unnecessary.
And if you excuse me, I'ma take a step back and wait for the women to disperse. I want to go back to calling Last of Us 2 fans fake and gay.